Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kind Soups. We are cooking mushroom and lentil soup today with Denise Schleckser. And I love seeing who's on and love that you're all cooking with us. Hello, everybody. I'm going to hand it off to Denise, who will get us started.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Is there anybody for whom this is their first time around? Any new people? Welcome if there are. Looks like we have a lot of our regulars on. So in true Kind Soup's form, we're going to do a recipe that has some variation to it. So if you have any ideas or questions about what to put in, what you might want to substitute, just holler. But I've made it a couple times and it's really good. So let me know what you think you might do to change it if you make it again. Any burning questions about my husband says bacon. Jim's gonna leave the kitchen now. It's his answer to all of life's questions. Does anybody have any burning questions about ingredients or anything before we start? I just want to address if you're dying to ask something before you cut something up, you're not sure if you should cut up or, yeah, Kelly.
I have a question. Hi, everyone. This is not really a question about ingredients so much as, well, salt is listed as one of the ingredients, but I did not see in the directions when to put the salt in. So just as we go through, like, you don't have to address it right now, but just, I got a little bit ahead. I started already.
Good. All right. Yeah, that's fine. I would say we'll probably get it in there with, and if I forget about it, remind me, okay. We'll probably get it in there with the rest of the spices, at least partially. Yeah. Yeah, Terry?
Yeah, the directions say have something that says add oregano, but there's no oregano in the ingredient list. So I don't know.
How did we get there? Really? Oregano.
I didn't see that.
Let me take a look. Yeah, that is so interesting. Oregano bay leaf. Somebody just snuck that in there, huh? Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm looking. No, it does have the time. It lists the time. I don't see we can make that a choice because I don't see it on the original recipe, but oregano and thyme would go great. So we'll leave that as a choice. That was a good catch. As many times as we read these over, we find something new. So I just wanted to start out today. We decided it might be a good best practice at our Kind Soups. Just remind everybody, and I'm sure these are all things that you guys have been doing right along, but we just wanted to be explicit about asking everybody to observe best practices for cleanliness in the kitchen. So I know they're pretty much all common sense things, but we just wanted to put it out there, and also for anybody who's kind of watching what KindWorks does, and we are getting more and more people watching what we do, so that's amazing. But yeah, we want to make sure we just start with clean hands and wash again whenever you need to. Start with clean kitchen surfaces and clean utensils. Antibacterial wipes if you need them, although they're not a must. If you have longer hair, you may want to consider either now or next time just keeping it tied back if that's helpful. And just any other common sense procedures for being, keeping this a quality thing. So such as never return a tasting spoon to the pot. Okay, so we just wanted to get that out there and over with, but like I said, I know you guys are pretty much doing that already, but we just wanted to make it explicit. So with that, I'm going to start up my olive oil for prepping the carrots. Oh, and I just wanted to say, whatever step you are at in the process right now is perfectly fine. The recipe's there, and even though there were a couple weird things about it that we found already, it's easy to follow. So don't worry if you're chopping something and it's already being put into the pot by me or anybody else. Just don't worry where you are. Yeah, Marge?
So I'm up to the point where I put in my broth and my tomato sauce and my lentils because it has to simmer for so long that I wanted to get going with it. Mm-hmm. It asks for smoked paprika, and I am not a great fan So I'm wondering how it's going to come out, if it's going to kill the taste by making it over smoky, if I should make it half and half, half regular, half smoked.
I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I use half smoked and half regular.
Okay.
I'm very glad you brought that up because, and it would, make a great recipe with the smoked, but it will have that smoky flavor. And if you're not as much a fan of that, yeah, go ahead and maybe even 1/3, 2/3 with, smoked and sweet, whatever you think. If you've been using paprika as an ingredient in other things, you kind of know how smoky you can take it. So yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. All right, so I'm just going to get my pot going. And we're going to saute the carrots once that's going. Oh, and as far as the oil, it was not listed in the ingredients, but then in the directions it says saute with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That 2 tablespoons was in the original recipe, which was the single recipe when we're only using 2 carrots. So 2 tablespoons would probably be okay for all the carrots we're using if you want to make a little bit of a low-fat version, but go ahead and splash a little bit more in there if you would like to.
Good evening, everyone, and it's great to see everyone. I just wanted to mention that on Sunday, when I was in the process of dropping off food from the farmer's market at Here to Help, I asked Mike if I could also drop off some soup. And he said wonderfully, please no. He already had like 75 quarts of soup, which was more than enough. So everyone has been so wonderfully generous. And he was very, very appreciative. So his cup runneth over with soup.
Oh, wow.
Well,
That's
last
great.
week was an anomaly. I don't want to discourage people from typically giving to Here to Help. There was a separate group that asked if they could deliver to Here to Help and to the Upcounty Hub, which they did through Marge. And so that was an anomaly. Please do not just default to the hubs, because these smaller organizations and drop-off spots also rely heavily and appreciate so much your soup donations. But thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
Deb.
glad to hear that, Betsy. Thank you.
Deb, I have a question about
Yeah.
drop-off. Are there specific hours for the one in Northwest DC Palisades? Or is it on the sheet, it doesn't say?
No, you're right, because that's just outside someone's front door. So you can drop off there whenever you would like.
Okay.
Although
Thank you.
she does have a dog, so she'd prefer it not to be at midnight. Michelle.
Right, it wouldn't be. Yes, okay, no problem. Thank you. But that's convenient for me. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's outside my home, so feel free to drop off when it's convenient.
Thanks, Salma. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
While I'm waiting for my oil to heat up to saute the carrots, I'm just making up my broth, which I love the better than bouillon. It's just so easy to make up the broth. But what I usually do is weigh it out. If you look on the container, it says 6 grams is a teaspoon, and that makes a cup. So I just multiply by however number of cups I'm supposed to make of broth. And then that's how much of the better than bouillon I weigh out. And then I measure out some of the water and get the broth with a whisk to dissolve in that. And then add the rest of the water. And nicer for me than dealing with boxes. Of course, I know some of you make amazing homemade broth. That's the best of all.
Denise, I have a question about removal of the bay leaves. I mean, you had mentioned in one of our email exchanges that maybe 9 bay leaves was a lot of bay leaves, so I put in 6. But
That's a good idea.
okay,
I think I'm going to shy away from 9 bay leaves, even though 3 is the number in the original recipe, so it would make sense to use the 9. But yeah, like I said, I may be fishing around for them for a long time, and I don't want to lose them, so I'm going to maybe pick 6 big ones.
so at what point are we fishing for them? We're fishing for them after we simmer, but before we
Yeah.
put it. Okay.
Yeah, I would say after the potatoes and lentils are all cooked once we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can someone tell me what a bay leaf really tastes like? I buy bay leaves. I smell bay leaves.
Yeah.
I don't know what they taste like. I should probably lick a bay leaf to see if it tastes like something. I have no idea what a bay leaf tastes like, and I don't know what it's adding to my soup. I'm going to do some Googling.
Quite
That's a
strong
really
if you actually
good
lick
question.
them. I wouldn't advise licking them. They don't taste great when you lick them. They're great for keeping flavor, but I don't think you'd find it very pleasant if you licked it.
You'd almost want to like make a broth or a bouillon with one of them, right? And just taste it that way. I think that's the only way you could really tell, unless you had two recipes for something very plain like a tomato soup, and one had a bay leaf and one didn't. You'll almost have to do an experiment. Because you're right. I don't know what that. I never tasted anything and said, "Ooh, I like the bay leaves. I like the bay taste in here." But
so I have two Google answers. The first is they add a subtle bitterness that keeps heavy soups and stews from being so heavy. And then the other one says essentially it adds another layer of flavor to a soup or stew, and the tea-like, oh so slightly menthol aromas, they must be very slight, help lighten up a hearty dish, so it's less likely to bog you down after a big meal.
Okay.
What do I know?
That's a lot of information.
Who knew? But it does say that if you're making homemade broth or stock, that it's a good thing to add to that. And since I make my own broth, what I'm going to do is take all those little crummy things that are always in the bottom of the bag of my bay leaves. I'm just going to throw it into the freezer. And so when I make the broth, it'll be in there.
Great. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Oregano do you add? Because I don't see it listed in the ingredients, but it's in step, what is it? Step 4. It's right, it's supposed to be between the paprika and the,
Yeah.
What do you think? I was gonna go with like tablespoon.
I would say if you're using thyme and oregano, maybe a teaspoon and a half, just like the thyme, the dried thyme.
Okay.
Yeah. Good to see you again, Pam.
They're farther along than they are, because I started earlier.
So it says to saute the carrots until they're golden. They're
Yeah, I thought they were already golden when I put them in the pot, so that was a stumper for me too. Yeah, I've had mine in for like 5 minutes, and I think I'm going to be putting in the onion and garlic. There's no chance that they're not going to cook in that 45 minutes that we simmer them. So I don't know what sauteing them longer will do. So I'm going to go ahead, put in my onions and garlic right now.
So I'm actually following the recipe and have all real ingredients this week, which is rare. But I want.
Sorry, say that. Oh,
I usually modify it a lot.
Yeah.
Gold is orange.
If I added some broccoli and zucchini, it would be better.
You want to say that?
I'm sorry, say that again. If you had other veggies.
No, but I think maybe it's like.
Let's see, hang on just a second. Let me see if we can. Okay. I can hear you now, I think.
I wanted to sort of balance out some of the carbs from the lentils by adding some other vegetables.
Okay.
Like I have broccoli and zucchini, and I don't know what else I have, but spinach, kale. I don't know if any of those would work in this, and I'm curious what anybody thinks.
I think they definitely would be fine. The kale, I'm trying to think. You might want to wait on the kale, where if you're using broccoli, maybe more like now with the carrots. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think flavor-wise, any of those would go. Is anyone else adding to the recipe with any other veggies or greens? Yeah.
I am debating the amount of broth to add. I've added 8 cups so far. I don't know if I want to add the full 12. Any thoughts on that?
I think you're okay using all of it.
Okay. I'm thinking
Just from having made it before, and also the original recipe actually is described as a stew. So even with this amount, I think it's going to be hearty.
okay.
So
Yeah, I think I'm going to add a little more because I will say it looks very thick with the 8.
yeah. And you know, I am trying something a little different with this batch because I've made it before, and I'm using, instead of just tomato sauce, I'm going to be using crushed tomatoes, which I think is not going too far afield because the texture for crushed tomatoes is actually pretty saucy. But I wanted to see if it would just give it, because it's supposed to be kind of stew-like, I just thought that might make it a nice texture too. So when you get to the tomato step, if you want to open cans of sauce, cans of crushed tomatoes instead of sauce. Honestly, Deb and I were talking earlier, I think any kind of a tomato product might do. I think even like petite diced tomatoes could be nice in this. So I've got my onions and garlic going in. I just used the jarred garlic this time. And we're going to wait for those onions to be translucent.
I was interested in our lineup for next week from Central Texas. Could someone tell me about who our chefs are? It's intriguing.
So again, Betsy, that is a little bit to the side of what's happening. Next Monday, we are going to be led by Alexa making a Alexa, what is it? Lemony thyme, something delicious.
It's a lemony chickpea soup that's beak. But I found it.
That sounds wonderful. So did I read the schedule wrong, Deb?
Yes, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway because it's kind of fun and interesting. If we're at a good time to just chit chat, are we, Denise?
Yes, we are. I'm just
right.
If you guys are looking for something to do while your onions are cooking, you can scoop your spices while we listen to the upcoming soup information.
Okay. Well, yeah, this one really is a side thing, but it's on our website on the calendar. One of the things that somebody in KindWorks and I have been talking a lot about is the political divide and the difficulty of hearing opposing views or participating and finding the opportunity to speak about opposing views on a whole host of issues respectfully and in a way that people can, learn from each other instead of just kind of asserting their side of whatever the conversation is. So we were looking into organizations or experiences that can help combat that. And one of the ones that we found was called Braver Angels. And they do a pretty good job at teaching people how to speak with listening as a priority and finding common ground as the goal, not staking out your own territory and identifying yourself as in opposition of the other person. So it really has some great goals. But what she and I felt that this group might benefit from more is the follow-up from learning how to listen and reminding and acting as human beings in community together, although you have differences of opinions that you've now found some common ground about within. So we offered to them that we would run a KindSoup project for them, so that now all these people on both sides of the political aisle who have learned to understand and respect each other's right to have their own opinions and to find common ground can also just enjoy an hour of cooking together. And to add more depth to the whole experience, we're going to recreate one of our KindSoup's Afghan edition experiences. And we're going to have Nadia and her dad, Saeed, who made that most delicious butternut squash soup with us, lead. I know, Terry, you're excited, right? So they're going to lead this group along with me and Julie, another facilitator, next Sunday. And it's going to be at Central Time, 4 o'clock for them and 5 o'clock our time. So we did put it on the calendar. It really, if somebody desperately wanted to be a part, please reach out to me. It really was just there to show the different things that KindWorks does, and isn't really a big invitation unless this really speaks to you, in which case, please do get in touch with me. But that's what we're doing that day, and I'm really excited about it. I think the need to cross, to participate in things outside of our silos is going to really help our country, and I'm hoping that this is a step in that direction.
I think that's a wonderful idea. It sounds great. And I'm so excited because I can cook from 4 to 5 with Har Shalom and from 5 to 6 with you guys. And then I can cook Monday. I'm just.
You will never tire of soup cooking, Marge. You're fantastic.
This is my 4th soup this week because I tried a mushroom recipe. So I have a quart and a half of that. And I tried a kind of an Italian vegetable soup recipe that wasn't a minestrone. I don't know what it was. And I mean, it was kind of boring. The mushroom soup would need major adjustments before I did anything with it. And then I tried the soup that Har Shalom is cooking on Sunday. So I have 7 quarts of a minestrone that's extremely tomato forward. It was a good recipe. It's got zucchini in it, and it's got tomato juice, similar to this with the tomato sauce. And I was pretty impressed with it. And it's one of those things like this soup. Gee, you have some peppers, throw them in. Why not? So yeah. So we're making so Sunday from 4 to 5. If anyone would like to join that soup, we're doing a minestrone.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marge. Thanks for always keeping those Har Shalomers at the stove.
Really, I'm not leading
So-
this.
So my mushrooms are in, and it's gonna look like your mushrooms are filling the pot, but they will cook down. And now I'm revisiting.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's that? No,
It
go ahead.
smells so good once those mushrooms start cooking. It's fantastic.
They do make it smell good. And now I want to revisit Pam's question because of the thyme and the oregano. This half a teaspoon of dried thyme. I'm just going to double check and see if the half a teaspoon was in. Yeah, the half a teaspoon dried. My apologies. That was the untripled recipe. So the thyme, you can go a little heavier on that, a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half even. We'll have to make that adjustment on our recipe. And oregano, I still think we could do like 1-to-1 ratios of oregano and thyme. That won't go in quite yet. So yeah, about up to
the
a
1-to-1 because
teaspoon.
we're using an Italian seasoning mix, so I'm hoping that's going to be all pre.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I was afraid to do it, but then I remember Marge taught us that soup is very forgiving.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting because I looked up the thyme quantity just because I was fooling around with this thyme, with the lentils, as oregano, whatever, and it says 1.5 teaspoon per cup of lentils. So that would make sense. That
that would make sense.
Yeah, I thought it was
We
interesting.
have problems with our parentheses in KindSoups. I notice if there's a number at the beginning of the line, we triple it. They tell us anything else on the same line. Sometimes it doesn't get tripled. We have to keep checking that. We'll get better.
Or then you triple those bay leaves and realize that you really don't want to go fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting what gets tripled. We always kind of assume that every single ingredient should be tripled, and usually it's the case, but not always. So the mushrooms, if you've got them in, they're going to go until it says the liquid has evaporated. I don't know. I can't remember if all of the liquid evaporated as I made this, but it'll be close to it. And you'll notice the mushrooms have gotten much smaller and browner.
Yeah, I started, about a half an hour before we got on the Zoom. So my mushrooms had been sitting there simmering for a half hour and there was still liquid in them. And so
okay, good to know.
Okay, it's gonna have a little liquid. Like I don't know how if I sit here like 3 hours if there won't still be liquid. So I just moved on.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I do that sometimes with other recipes. If it looks like the mushrooms are cooked enough, then I just move on, even if the liquid isn't gone.
And I had the opposite experience. I was concerned that my mushrooms that the stuff in the pot was going to burn because it was in there with the onions and everything. It really did evaporate. I was probably just on a slightly higher heat than Kelly was. So mine did go almost completely.
What?
I'm wondering whether the mushrooms will cook down better if I divide it into another pot, because it's getting pretty high with hot stuff.
Yeah, only if you don't think that they're making progress. Otherwise,
That's an actual other dog.
They'll get there eventually.
I know.
Mine look. I'm pretty happy with the way they look, and there's a decent amount of liquid, but I'm okay because this is a soup/stew. So if I was putting it on somebody's plate, I'd maybe give it a little more time. But I like the idea of mushroom liquid, so I'm going to move on to the next step. So we want the lentils, which have been rinsed. We'll go in. Tomato sauce, and in this case, I have the crushed tomatoes. I'll keep my fingers crossed and let you know how that goes. And the spices. And the broth will go in at this point too, eventually, once we get all this in.
Okay, and the final advice on spices was to do 1.5 teaspoons, oregano and thyme.
That's right, at least 1.5 teaspoons of for thyme, and then to your taste on the oregano. And it could definitely take up to 1.5 teaspoons. And in case I forget at the end, just some serving notes. I enjoyed this probably because I used some of the smoked paprika. I enjoyed it with a little bit of Greek yogurt on top, similar to a curry or something, or an Indian dish where you want to cut a little bit of the heat. And some bread, either like a naan bread, that was good with it. I would think even like a heartier bread though would be nice, a whole wheat bread, any kind of bread, let's face it. It doesn't matter what, I love every kind of bread. And depending on the consistency, you might want to serve it over rice. Lentils and brown rice are always nice together. Yeah, I'm looking at what I put together so far, and with the crushed tomatoes, it's very similar consistency with the tomato sauce. Just gives you those nice little pieces of tomato along with it. And I only used how much? 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika and 2 teaspoons of the sweet, and I can definitely smell the smoked paprika.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I thought I had some brown lentils and I realized that they are mung beans left from another recipe. Would those, I have like 2 cups of regular lentils, but how would it be to add the mung beans in?
I think that would be awesome. Now, I haven't cooked with mung beans except for the recipes that we've made with KindSoup. So I'm not an expert in cooking with them, but I think they're definitely going to cook within the 45-minute time period. So yeah, I think it'd be fine.
Anybody else?
And I
have
think,
experience with them?
Yeah, anybody have more info on that than I would?
Lynn,
More
Yes.
liquid.
soup is forgiving.
I know, it's more that, do they require like soaking or pre-cooking? I can't remember.
I'll go Google while you cook.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I remember they just took longer to cook than I think the lentils will, but I think it sounds great actually.
No soaking is required.
Okay.
Let me see if it says anything about substitution.
I think they're mung beans. They could be green lentils, but I'm pretty sure they're mung beans. I also think 2 cups of lentils instead of 3 would be just fine.
It says they can be substituted. The yellow ones can be substituted. Let's see if it says you can mix them.
Yay. Thank you.
So after you have added the lentils, your spices, bay leaves, tomato, broth, that all goes in, and bring your heat up and get that to come to a boil. And then you can add the tomatoes. That'll be the last, or sorry, potatoes. And that'll be the last thing to go in before we do the long simmer.
Oh, it's getting way too scientific for me, Lynn. I'm sorry. It's busy talking about amino acids and what you can substitute with them to make the whatever, the methionine and cysteine, whatever. It's beyond me. It sounds like you can substitute them. I suspect that it should be fine if you mix them.
So I still have a fair amount of liquid in my mushrooms, but you're saying that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I would go ahead if the mushrooms look like they're pretty well cooked. Go ahead and add your other ingredients.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. What did people find for potatoes? I got some thin-skinned red potatoes. Last time I made this, I had those tri-colored potatoes that have the white and red and blue or purple, whatever they are, because those are nice and thin-skinned too. By the way, there's no rule about using the thin-skinned. It's just that I'm lazy, and if they're thin-skinned, I don't have to peel them. But you could peel regular potatoes, or you could not peel regular potatoes. Nothing says if you have a russet potato and you like the taste and texture of the peel, you can absolutely just wash them and put them in.
Glad you said that, because that's what I did.
Did you? Good.
Yeah. I was like, oh, forget it. I'm trying this.
Yeah, good. You've got better things to do than peel potatoes. It could be reading, right?
Exactly. Those don't get read on their own.
I bought a full-size bag of yellow potatoes. They don't say Yukon Gold, but they clearly had very thin skins. But they're real potatoes. And since I was dicing them, it didn't matter that some of them were larger and some of them were smaller, and it was fine.
Right.
They seem to be fine. They seem to be happy. They're smiling.
That's a good thing.
Yep. I've got another half an hour to simmer.
Yeah, now mine looks pretty much, it's definitely would be called a soup versus a stew at the moment, which is maybe why I subconsciously changed the title when I was transposing it and called it soup, because I think it's going to end up that way, even though we have a lot of potatoes to put in. I guess that's going to add some starch, so it'll definitely thicken up, but it'll be interesting, the end texture.
Pam, remind me where you're cooking with us from. I know it's somewhere out west, but I don't remember where.
Seattle.
Ah, welcome. What's it like out there? It's absolutely freezing here.
You don't want to know.
All right.
It's a beautiful day.
Oh, good. We're happy for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deb, are you in Maryland? It was 40 degrees today. It was beautiful.
I don't know why I am walking around freezing like I'm an old person, Marge. Don't tell me it's because I'm an old person.
We woke up the other day and it was 57 degrees in the house. And it's like, oh, so David's outside with a hairdryer blowing out some condensation thing. And the people came, they were very good. They were here by 9 a.m. and looked at it and decided that maybe, it's only a 21-year-old furnace. I don't know, how long do they last? I thought they lasted a long time.
Nothing lasts a long time anymore, Marge.
Well, there is that.
Except true love. Jane.
And kind works.
And kind works. Jane, have we met yet? I don't remember talking to you ever.
I've been on a few calls. I'm a friend of Rhonda Goldman's.
Oh, terrific. Yeah.
It's probably my, I don't know, fourth soup or something. I haven't been on in a while.
Well, nice to see you back. Good. And I think you've been on, but quiet before, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mostly listen and kind of do my thing.
All right, well, good. I'm sorry, I'll let you go back to your anonymity, but thank you for joining us.
No problem. I'm happy to be here.
And let's see, I think there's one more name I haven't met yet. Antarab Basu? Am I ruining your name?
Nope, you're fine. It's Antara Basusaik, but
Hello.
You did great. Hi.
Hello, Antara. Are you new with us? I don't recall meeting you yet.
No, I think I started, actually, I remember I started MLK last year.
Yes.
And joined several times after that because I think you guys are great. So we've been doing quite a bit of the Afghan. I think we did like, well, I say we, but it ended up being me.
Yeah.
At least they're yelling from the other room. Anyway, I did 3 or 4 of those.
Oh, well, good. We're glad you're back. Who's yelling in the other room? Are there kids there or who's there?
Would you like to meet them?
Yes.
They'll come over.
Absolutely.
We got Z here. Hello.
Hi.
And Zena, you want to come?
Zena's very shy.
Hello.
Be shy up. All right, we'll say a real quick hello. Thank you for letting us see your face, even though you're shy. You're both beautiful, and it's nice to meet you all.
They've been a lot. They really enjoyed the MLK Day. All the soups. I mean, it's every single soup turns out. Maybe because it's forgiving, but they're all delicious. So.
Oh, we're so glad.
I enjoy eating them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks for joining us.
Where is our friend Olivier? Is he okay? He hasn't been here.
He is. No, he is fine. I have it on good word that he's doing well. He just is a very, as you can well imagine, overwhelmed with things that he enjoys. I know he has piano lessons on Monday, and then she told me about something else that they added to the Monday schedule. So he's just always busy, and he's always mad when he can't join Kind Soups. He really loves it.
Deb,
Yes.
I would love to know if there are any like favorite soups that you've like repeated that people just really love, or that you've gotten. Do you ever get feedback from the recipients? Are there certain types or?
So unfortunately, we don't get feedback from the recipients because we aren't really the frontline people handing them over in almost every instance, which is a big disappointment to us and to you, I'm sure. But Michelle, I will share, we had a couple of weeks last year.
Write
I
it
think,
down.
well, no, you don't have to write it down yet. Actually, I'll take notes because I'm cooking with a friend today. So Michelle, you can keep cooking and I'll take notes and I'll put it in the chat. We did have a couple chef choice weeks where we said, we're not going to gather on Zoom. It was only 2 for the entire year. We didn't cook together on Zoom, but we asked people to make their chef choice soup, and either maybe one that you missed and wanted to make or one that you especially loved. And we were asking, remember Marge, for which soups people like the most. And Marge, what did they come up with? You dictate and I'll put them on the chat. The soups that people liked most
I
included.
can't believe you're going to make me do this again.
All right. Well, the first one that I know, what?
Yeah, the wild rice with
Yes.
mushroom, autumn wild rice, whatever.
That's the one that Cheryl made last week, right?
That was really good.
Autumn,
the garlicky
wild.
chicken with the musician is just absolutely fabulous. And
You were just charmed by him, but okay.
No. Whenever I make chicken soup now, I make it that way. It's very interesting because it had entire bulbs of garlic that you put in and roasted, so that when you put them in the soup, it was like heaven. It was really, if you like garlic, that was a soup for you.
And I think the roasted butternut squash soup, or one of the many, were just among everyone's favorites, right?
Yep, I think that's good. The Harshalom vegetarian chili, which was nixed by all those vegetarians who don't like crumble in their soup.
So Marge,
it was really good.
It was good, but did you try last week's with the only vegetables? No, you added crumble to your last Monday's soup, right?
What I did last week is I made the vegetarian recipe as it was, okay? And then I took some of it out, and for dinner we had it with crumble. But I bought a different crumble from the kind I had bought with the Harshalom soup. And I think that part of it is the crumble that you add. The crumble that we had the first time was better. It was, I can't remember the name of it. It's whatever Giant was selling. And then I was in a different Giant and they had a different crumble. And it turns out, this was fascinating, when I looked at the packaging on it, it had egg in the crumble. So it wasn't a vegan. Now we were eating that at home and it wasn't a big deal, but I was so surprised. It did not have soy. It did have egg. It was crazy.
Well, let that be a lesson to us all, because when you call it crumble, it sounds like it is like something, but it isn't anything, right?
Well,
one crumble is not another crumble.
Right. You need to read your ingredients. Always read your ingredients. So
I think that people really liked, Denise, that Thai carrot with ginger. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Thai carrot with ginger.
By the way, let me break in for just a second. If once you get the broth boiling with the lentils and everything else, go ahead and add the potatoes. And then I know sometimes I forget when the recipe says to cover, and this one says to cover. So once you finally get everything in, you're up to the potatoes and those are in, that's the cover and simmer for 45 minutes. Although I will say, if you're looking for something more thick and stewy, then you can uncover because you're going to have some evaporation. So just pick your texture ahead of time. Okay, sorry, didn't want to interrupt.
That's okay, thank you. All right, so I think that a lot of people really love the Thai carrot with ginger. Then there was a chicken tortilla that we made 2 or 3 times between Harshalom and KindSoup's Monday, which used to be KindSoup Saturday. So Michelle, we just got you started. But every one of our recipes are on every recipe is on the KindSoup's page of the KindWorks website. And many of them have, they'll show you the recipes, but many also have links to the YouTube recordings. So, play around and see what you like. But these 5 or 6 are ones that really, we just have been told over and over again that people have really enjoyed.
that soup that you're talking about is called Thai sweet potato and carrot soup. We cooked it on January 30th, 2021, so just a year ago. And it was, I mean, I actually wrote on my page that it was excellent, so it must have been really good.
Thai sweet potato and ginger, is that what you said, Marge?
Thai sweet potato and carrot soup.
And carrot, sweet potato.
But it does have, yes, it has 3 tablespoons of ginger in it. So yes, that was a good one.
I have a question about the potatoes. I slice them. Should they also be chopped? How small do the potatoes?
Oh, you got confused with the thinly sliced, and we apologize for that, Holly. It actually should have just been chopped, not thinly skinned, thin skinned. Unlike Deb Lang, who should not be thin skinned, the potato should be thin skinned.
Okay, now they can get chopped now. So
yeah,
that's good.
Chop them up.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
You know what other one is a real favorite, Deb? The Bistro Kosher lentil soup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one.
And the watermelon gazpacho.
Oh, yes.
Of course, the watermelon gazpacho we did a couple of times.
I've been screaming it in the background and then I realized I was muted.
There's also a soup. I don't know if we ever made it with KindWorks. Remember, I was busy carrying on about that creamy Tuscan white bean soup.
We made a Tuscan bean soup, but not a creamy one. I think Marge may have a different recipe. Maybe we should do that in March, Marge.
Maybe. I'm looking at it. Oh, we may have done it. We may have done it on April. I did it twice. I think we may have done it on April 3rd. I think we did it. Do you have if you can go back to that page, you'd see it. I think we did it March 14th with Harshalom and April 3rd, possibly. This is the one that had the spinach in it. It was really good. And a Parmesan cheese. It was delicious. I like that one. And that Chinese winter soup was a good soup.
Oh, everybody did like, that was a surprise winner. Yep. Chinese winter soup was a great one.
And we also did the Ina Garten split pea soup was a good one too. That Parker split pea soup, it has various names, but it's an Ina Garten recipe.
All right, well, we can't give Michelle any more to try or she'll be overwhelmed and just shut down. So that's
she can turn into me. She just
that is very unlikely. You are one of a kind, my friend.
You know, I was thinking about what you were saying about Olivier and having, you know, being a kid and having a busy schedule and doing this lesson and that lesson. And, you know, as an adult, you sit here and you do nothing. I don't do anything. I cook soup. I go to the grocery store to buy ingredients for soup. I go to the library to exchange my books. And that's what I do. You know, we are going to start playing Mahjong tomorrow again in person. We started a couple of weeks ago and then had to stop, or a couple of months ago and had to stop. But
Marge,
try to play in person with masks.
Marge, everybody else on this call can tell you that telling me you don't have enough to do is
you made a big mistake.
Well, I do. I cook soup. So it's like, what did you do today? Well, let me see. I cooked soup and then I cooked some more soup. I went to the grocery store and bought ingredients for soup.
If I perceived that you were looking for something else to do, I would be all over you, but I'm leaving you alone.
Hey, you know, I hear that the museum is opening again on February 1st. The Krieger's opening. So maybe someday we'll be able to be docents again. God knows. It'd be nice to go back to the museum.
How often did you do that?
I did it once a month. And there's actually, if you looked at the Post's weekend section last week, there was a very nice picture of the Lou Stovall. That's the, he's a local DC silk screen artist who's a real big deal. And he has an exhibit that is opening tomorrow. So the museum is reopening. I don't know if they're requiring people to sign up in advance. They may be, but they had not, they were open before and they didn't have us playing docent. They just had people doing their own little pod groups walking around. So we'll see.
So Marge, I have a friend who is a docent at the Portrait Gallery. And what I learned from her is that there is reciprocity between whatever museum you work at and wherever you might go. So when she's in New York, she gets free admission to the Met, to MoMA, a wonderful byproduct of your work.
That's not true in Maine. They'll give you a discount. I mean, it's true in some museums, you're correct. But yeah, there are some museums where they're like, we don't care about the Krieger. We don't care about the portrait. We don't care.
I'm sure if they're, more budgetarily, a little tighter budget, less likely to give you a complete free pass.
That's probably true. Anyway, it would be nice to someday do that again. We'll see.
As your soups are simmering, I just realized I probably let it go for a little bit less than the 40 to 45 minutes when I made it the past couple of times. I think it'll probably give you the nicest flavor if you can, but I'm just thinking the lentils take about 20 minutes, and little pieces of diced potatoes, same deal. So if anybody's hungry before your 45 minutes are up, I would say you could cheat this by at least 15, 20 minutes. And I think it's definitely going to be a soup and not so much a stew.
Denise, where did you find this recipe?
This is on a website whose name kind of annoys me, skinnytaste.com. Only because like that whole, people should be skinny thing. Is that what they're trying to say with skinnytaste.com? I'm sure they don't mean anything by it, but I don't get like an email feed or anything from them, but I think I was Googling lentil recipes with a cup like lentils and whatever other ingredients I had. Probably Googled lentils and mushrooms and that came up. So it was skinnytaste.com. I can't say too much about other recipes they have on that site because I'm not too familiar with it, but that's where I found it. And I think we're trying to post now the original recipe so that if somebody wants to go back and make it, just for a family size one time, they'll have the regular family size.
Why would
recipe.
anybody ever cook family size anymore when you can
Right?
always give away extra, right, Marge?
Absolutely. There's always room in my freezer, except for now because I have 20 of those people's soup from downtown.
Well, Salma has an empty freezer outside her door on Manning Place. If anybody wants to share a vegetarian soup with the Afghan refugee community, drop them there.
Yeah, this one will qualify.
Yeah. We just
My
tasted
neighbor-
ours. What?
My neighbor is the one who takes those soups over, picks them up at Salma's and takes them to wherever she takes them.
Yeah, Carter Rock is just like a group of soup delivery people.
Right. If anyone needs soup delivered tomorrow, it needs to be at my house by 9:45, please. Preferably not at 8:45 because I might be in the shower.
I'm at a taste testing point.
Oh, I was
delicious.
just thinking about doing that.
It's really good, Denise.
Good?
I guess the other thing I'm going to do, I think, is add a little bit more salt because the salt, there wasn't that much salt for the size, of the potatoes probably soaked most of that up. So I'm going to add maybe another teaspoon of salt and I think it'll be perfect. Maybe a little more pepper too, but
cool.
I am
really
30,
good.
I'm 30 minutes into the simmer. My potatoes are still a little too hard, I think.
Okay. I'm glad Kelly mentioned that about the salt though, because I usually put only part of it when I start out. So I think I will be tasting now too, see how we're doing.
We use that better than bouillon, Kelly, and ours was like plenty salty. Not too salty, but plenty. So depends what you
vegetarian, the vegetable better than bouillon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I always like to start low because you can always add salt, but you can't take it away if you put too much in. So, and I don't like things really salty. So I usually go on the conservative side, but it's got a good texture. It's not too soupy. It's soupy enough and everything cooked. It looks, it's a nice hearty winter soup. Perfect for tonight. And when you said about the Afghan community, that's Salma's home? That's it. That's in on the website somewhere. I haven't dropped there
Yeah,
before.
there's two of them that will get delivered to Afghan families. One of them is in
Okay.
Peachtree County in Hyattsville or Riverdale.
Yeah.
One of them's on Manning Place, just south of
Perfect.
Bethesda. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's very convenient for me, so I'll probably go
Good.
there.
We're good.
You know, Nikki mentioned at Up County that they have some Afghan families now as well. So I'm not sure if they're pulling out the vegan soups or how they're doing with it. You're on mute, Deb.
I wasn't adding anything useful. I was saying, I don't know how they do it either. I hope they do, but that seems like an awful lot of work for them to undertake. So I would feel if somebody was committed to wanting their soups to be used in that way, delivering to one of the other two places is a more sure bet.
Oh, yeah.
But it's great that they're amazing and they may try to meet all individual needs like that, but they help a lot of people. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, they have boxes and boxes and boxes going, multiple times a week. So yeah, it is a big deal. I think you're right. That's the right call. If you definitely wanted to go to the Afghans, take it over to Salmon's freezer.
Yeah. What'd you think?
For those of you who are, oh, go ahead, Deb. Sorry.
No, I was just asking you what you thought after we watched you taste your soup.
I like it. I like the smokiness. I did just the one third of the smoked paprika, but I like that. The salt seems pretty good too. I don't think I'm going to change it too much. Yeah.
That's what we thought. I love it.
The potatoes are done. The lentils need more time, but I've got another half hour. So
that's so odd that my lentils are done, but my potatoes are not.
Yeah. Well, maybe the relative size. I might have cut them a little tiny.
Well, I have a pretty small one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them up again and double check, because it's certainly possible that I happen to get, one that was.
Oh yeah. Now, for those of you who are eating it tonight, what are you serving with it, if anything?
I bought some sourdough.
That I was thinking a lovely bread would be all you really want and need, right? Other than, maybe a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I have some leftover Gruyere cheese, so I think I'm gonna make grilled cheese, which I never do.
That sounds so good, Lynn.
Healthy bread, though. Soup.
What would you pair with it for red wine?
Well, we are getting down to the end of our hour. Does anybody have any questions for Denise before we let her go?
I'll be right back. Just yelled it out. I just asked my.
I do. I have questions about spices after it's finished stewing. Any recommendations of what you added, a little extra of something or other?
I think that Kelly said she added a little, or Kelly or Denise added a little extra salt. I was thinking about smoked paprika, but we ended up thinking that it was perfect the way it was. Some pepper. I think Kelly might have said pepper. Denise liked hers perfectly the way it was. Anybody else have any post-cooking spices? Michelle? I think she was just saying goodbye. Anybody else want to chime in on how to spice it at the end?
I tasted the broth. Mine hasn't simmered, but it was spicy, had a lot of zing to it. Like I wouldn't add any more pepper. Maybe I was a little handed on the paprika and the pepper already, but we'll see after it cooks, but it was good.
Okay.
And I was just off asking my resident sommelier about a wine pairing. When Jeff said wine, I'm like, oh yeah, what do we do? So what was it, Jim? Burgundy or a Beaujolais? A cru level Beaujolais, if you have it.
What is that?
Oh, no, we want to know what a cru level Beaujolais is. It'll have the name of the town it's made in. I think any Beaujolais is okay. And what was after Beaujolais? A Pinot Noir. And one other option. Northern Rhone, that's a type of red.
I wonder if we can skip soups one night and just have a big 1 hour time wine tasting with Jim. That'd be fun, right?
Yeah, we totally
Oh,
could.
Pam is excited. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to let you guys go. Denise, enjoy your Beaujolais, your crew level Beaujolais. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next week when Alexa will be leading us in a lemony chickpea soup, which sounds delicious.
Sounds so good.
Have a
All
good
right, thanks for
week,
joining us, everybody.
Thanks so much.
I hope it comes out well.
Many thanks, Denise.
Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome.